Hi, friends. Hello, the world. Welcome back to this episode of Complaint Free Life podcast. So, for any podcast listeners on podcast platform, I haven't been putting these podcast episodes because I'm transitioning from one website to another. So that's why, if you have been listening to me over any podcast platform, please don't be mad at me. You can watch them currently on social media, and then once I transition to get my new website fully going, and then you will receive the podcast again. So I just wanted to clarify that. And the second thing is, before we dive into the topic that I'm going to talk about today, I would love to invite you to the webinar that I'm hosting next Wednesday about how to transition successfully. I really have prepared amazing way to look at things and how to start using whatever I teach you in that webinar and answer all of your questions. And it will be without replay. So no, there will be no recording. So that's why you really need to be there with me so that we can interact. We can also talk to each other about all the things transitioning. Okay. So the topic that I wanted to talk to you today is the topic that I hear a lot from humanitarians. Well, I guess it's just like in general, the question that, or the statement that comes up that we're not really aware of why it's coming up and what it is doing with us. It's just that we tend to say this um, just like the matter of fact way, right? It's like, yeah, this is how it is. And we don't really investigate, we don't really dissect and see what's happening behind that thought. And I would love to invite you, encourage you to do self-coaching with me, meaning that you coach yourself. And you're welcome to get coaching from me as well. And the topic that I will be talking about is it's not the right time, right? You probably heard this in your own brain. You probably heard from other people, especially if we are embarking upon a big transitioning or even thinking about it. Sometimes it gets scary, and sometimes we're like, oh my God, if I think about it, it means that I may have to keep doing it, going it, and therefore I stop it. It's not the right time. It's not the thing. And all the like, we shove it away. Right. So, another scenario that I'm thinking of as a parallel to this for some people would be like I was coaching one of my clients about going through a divorce, right? The transitioning through the divorce. And she was telling me exactly the same type of thing, is like keep telling herself that it's not the right time because of this, because of that, because of this. And therefore keep postponing and postponing and postponing until it became an explosive situation, right? Until she couldn't handle, tolerate, and all the things. So, in order not to do that, and of course, I'm talking about this extreme example, but our transitioning from wherever we are to wherever we're going may also sound like that type of very intense emotional experience, like a divorce that I hear from people, right? I have no experience myself, but I hear some of my clients describe it in these ways of uh, recovering afterwards for so long, even going through is not easy. But of course, transitioning is not like that or not supposed to, even though many of us may be feeling that. And one of the objections that our brains bring up to us as a reason why not is it's not the right time. And this is the objection that I want to address today. And I would love to invite you to address this with me by answering the questions that I will be prompting. I would love to get you answering your own ways and see what comes up for you, right? So, in other words, don't leave this type of objections uninvestigated or not dissected, because what these type of objections show is that our brain's way of um, sabotaging that we don't even know about. Our brain's way of saying we're really scared and we don't really want to go there, and therefore we'll just stop ourselves by saying it's not the right time. Okay. So the first question that I would love for you to think about is where it's coming from, because oftentimes it's not the right time is actually the symptom of something, right? It's not the core issue. It's just like the manifestation of it. It's like what you see on the surface, right? So what you see on the surface, like with any injuries as well, is like just because outside it's small wound or whatever, it doesn't mean that it's that small. We just need to investigate further what it is behind, right? So that's why the same goes for this type of objection that our brains offer is what is behind it, meaning that why are we believing that it's not the right time? Right. So you can ask yourself this question, why am I believing that it's not the right time? Because whenever our brains propose things like it's not right, it's not this, it's not that, and it's like somehow very vague, yet also a very stopping objection, I know that it's most likely coming from a fear, and our way of like stopping us before we make a big mistake or before we go and fail, before we do something crazy. So we rather stop it and we keep saying or telling ourselves that this is not right. Right. So a lot of the moral issues, if you think about it, is always labeled with right or wrong. And obviously, we do that for a reason so that it's very strong for us to stop and not do whatever we think is wrong, right? So that's the same type of indicator that whenever we say it's not the right time, we want to get curious as to why that is. Now, in no way we will be judging ourselves or saying that, well, how can you or why, and don't do any of that. So just get curious as to why it's not the right time or why do you believe it's not the right time, right? So maybe there are reasons that you think are valid because of which you don't transition. So, for instance, I was exploring this with one of my clients recently, and she was saying that the reason why she thinks it's not the right time to transition is because her colleagues have gotten better and nicer, and she wants to just continue because before the reason why she wanted to leave was because of the colleagues and environment, right? So, how often have you heard this type of scenario where we are doing something out of escaping one particular person or one particular environment, and we believe that if we go somewhere else it will be better? Maybe it will if the constellations of those people are different, and I have no doubt that we have seen so many examples where in one constellation of people they couldn't work together at all. And then if we go to another constellation with some of the people there, then it works beautifully, right? So that's why I don't doubt that. But even if you do think that's the reason, just be careful that you're not making yourself dependent on their behavior, right? Because oftentimes that's what we do is we're like, oh, they're behaving well there, or they're behaving the way that I think they should, and therefore I'm fine staying, right? Don't do that to yourself in that sense of like it might be temporary, but also whenever we're doing that, what happens is that we will be always depending on how other people are in the office, how they behave, and then depending on their mood, our mood will be then fluctuating, and then our mood will be always depending on them. So that's why the best way to handle that is independently of their mood. How are you showing up in that environment? You like to show up in that environment that way? And if yes, then continue doing it. So, in other words, don't use them as a reason for staying, use yourself as a reason for staying, right? So, this is what I'm saying. Okay. Another one that I hear a lot is I am staying or it's not the right time because of children's education or because of family obligation or whatever that is, right? So I totally get it, understand it. I keep telling you that I'm responsible financially in many other ways for so many families back home. So I totally get what you're saying. The the only thing that I want to bring your awareness here is I would love for you to also think about what about your dreams, right? So obviously you are ready to sacrifice for the dreams of other people. I totally respect it. I totally get it, understand it. I am currently financing two people's education in university. You probably heard about it. And oftentimes I feel like I'm the like mother, even though one of them is my sister who's 50 years old, and the other one is 17 years old niece. So I feel like a mother, a sister, and all the things. So I totally understand what you're saying, but I really want you to also think about, especially if it is our children, right? So, especially if it's our children, is that really the right message we're sending to them by sacrificing our dreams for their dreams, right? Because I fear what happens oftentimes is that they will then take the message, even though we're not really saying it or we're not really like telling them, but they are they are seeing it, right? They're seeing our example of as long as you get your education, I will do everything, right? Or we are like sending them the message that uh, my dreams are not as important as yours, or it's okay for me to sacrifice, but you shouldn't, kind of the message. And that's like the mixed message. Is that really what we're sending to our children? Do we really want to send that message to our children? That's the only thing that I want you to make a decision or think about how that is. And that will also answer if your answer is no, I don't want to, excuse me, I want to send a message to my children that my dreams are as important as theirs, and I'm ready to make my dreams reality while helping them to make their dreams reality, right? Then the next question, or the next after will be helping you answer that. So the second question that I would love for you to ask and answer is the question of, whenever we're saying no to ourselves and to our dreams, right? We are always saying yes to something else. And we don't, I think, often think about it enough because it's so much of our current reality where we live, what we do, and we don't really think of like from a side as to what's going on in our current life. And then oftentimes we may not realize what we're actually saying yes to, because whatever we're saying, for instance, if we're saying no to transitioning for whatever reasons that we figured out above, right? Then also think about, what are you saying no to, or sorry, what are you saying yes to, right? So obviously, what are you saying no to is your dreams that you want to living your life the way you want to, creating your impact the way you want to, being in charge of your time and energy the way you want to, right? So that's the transitioning that I'm promising to get you, and I'm assuming you also want similar outcomes. I mean, of course, your outcome will be more precise, right? So you are saying no to that because you're arguing with yourself that it's not the right time. So now let's have a look at what are you saying yes to, right? As you're saying no to the transitioning. So what are you saying? What might you be saying yes to is continuing that status quo, continuing being in the place that you probably wanted to transition from, because that's why we're considering this discussion, right? Continuing forcing yourself to be doing things that you don't want to, or at least not all of them, continuing being in the overwhelmed, stress, pressure situation, further continuing to be dependent on how you will be promoted, who will be promoting you, or whatever the ambitions you have in career. So these are the things that you're saying yes to, right? What I really wanted to offer you, for you to consider, is what I think we don't really think about is that it's never time, or it's never the right time to be suffering for things that we don't really think makes sense to suffer for, right? Because our brains are usually very smart and so observing to see when it's worth suffering for and when it's not. I mean, I'm sure you know this better than me if you have a bit observed your brain. But our brains always know when it's worth suffering for, and we're okay to do the 24/7 in order to get help, for instance, in order to accomplish XYZ if we think it makes sense. We're all ready to do that. There's no absolute question about it. But I think that it's never the right time to be suffering for things that we don't think make sense, right? We never seem to think about that for some reason, and I'm still thinking, like, figuring out why that is. But that's like the biggest one, is that it's never the right time to kill our own greatness or to suppress our own greatness. And this is another big one that you probably heard me talk about in my post, is that I've seen so many times now that life really, really, like, in quotes, punishes us for suppressing our greatness, for truly being who we are. Like, life makes us suffer if we are suppressing our greatness, if we're suppressing of who we really are, if we're suppressing what we can do in the world and how we can shine in the world. And if we're suppressing it consciously or not consciously, life tends to bring us challenges to punish us in some ways, in weird way. And don't take my word for it. So observe your own situation, right? So don't take my words of how I have experienced life and I have been seeing with other people. Look at your own life, right? If you look at your own life and you see that in times where you're suppressing of being who you truly are, who you truly could be, instead just following certain things, certain rules, and you're not really liking yourself, you're suffering, right? So that's what I mean when you have this great mind, you have this great heart, and you want to be doing so many things in the world, and you want to be creating your impact in the way you want to help people in the way you want, yet you can't really do that because of certain framework rules existing where you are working, I'm assuming, and therefore you feel like you are like this, I don't know, an amazing bird who is in the cage, right? So I'm thinking of Birdcage movie when I'm thinking about this. You got the message, right? So that's why I just want to argue anytime with anyone to say that it's never the right time to be suffering for things that that we think don't make sense, and also it's never the right time to suppress our greatness. It's never the right time to put our greatness into the cage and saying, well, we'll deal with you later, like in 20 years when all the other reasons have gone. Until then, I continue suffering. I think it's never the right time. Yet our brains, interestingly, don't really offer that to us. Have you noticed it? It's like, I don't know why, but our brains, whenever it says it's not the right time, it's like the end of story. Sometimes I think of my own brain, like a bit of the brain attitude, or the attitude of my father, because my father used to be like that. He used to be, this is how it is, end of story. No discussion, no further, da da da, right? So, and And of course, I suffered a lot under that. But then I also realized that that's exactly the thing I don't want to be doing when I grow up, which I'm doing. Obviously, now I'm questioning and dissecting a lot of the things that my brain is offering, right? So that's why I really want you to think about it as well as in terms of what if it's never the right time to be forcing ourselves to be doing the work that we don't want to be doing? What if it's never the right time to be disappointed and frustrated the whole time as we're doing our work? What if it's not never the right time to be actually going fully on something that in the end, in the long run, we don't really see the point of doing it? Then what? Then what are we going to do? Right? So that's why I really want you to think about for yourself is whenever you're saying no to your dreams, no to your transitioning, no to whatever you are wanting, what are you saying yes to? And is that really worth saying yes to? Maybe it is. I don't know. You decide, you know the answer. So that's why I really want you to think about again, don't hear me wrong by thinking that by all of this, I'm saying that transition and leave the place that you're working in currently. No, transitioning, and I always repeat, is something that is in the mindset shift, meaning that transitioning is when we decide to live our lives the way we want to and doing the things that we love. If it's a humanitarian work, amazing, I applaud you. If it's something else, amazing, I applaud you as well. So that's why please hear me right saying that you decide whatever you're saying no to and whatever you're saying yes, and what are the reasons, and are you fine with that reasons? Or do you like that reasons? Right? So this is the only thing I'm encouraging you to do. The third question that I want you to reflect on is if you could guarantee a better way of doing all the things that you're doing, or living your life the way you are doing, you could do that even better than the one that you have now. Would you really say it's not the right time? Right? It's a very good question. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, whenever I ask myself, it's really never the case. I mean, it's really never the case where I say it's not the right time. Because whenever I know that I have options, whenever I know that I can actually make whatever I have even better than I'm currently having, because A, I have a lot of experience, B, I trust myself, C, I know how to deal with all the failures and all the things because they're just all emotions. And then D, I know how to create a plan and pursue it. Even if I don't follow through some of the times, it's okay, but I know that I can pursue it. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I always know that I can guarantee myself those things that I want to. Even if they don't happen in the time frame that I guaranteed myself, it's okay because the main part is that I know I can pursue them. I know I can go after them. And I know that I'm not neglecting my desires and my wishes to be going after them. So that's why I love guaranteeing myself results that I want to. And that's why I would love for you to also think about if you could guarantee a result that you're really wanting to, would you really be saying it's not the right time, right? Because I think we say it's not the right time often because we believe the other one will be better or worse, or the other one will be something this, something that. And that's why we really don't allow ourselves to go forward. But we knew, if we had the time machine and we knew that we could go and have a look and have a look at how we ourselves made that happen and how we are living that life that we're really wanting, then would we sit here and arguing with ourselves as to it's not the right time? You answer it. And the last one is if you want to say yes to your dreams, if you want to say, yes, it is the right time, yes, this is how I'm going to do it, um, let's start guaranteeing whatever the results you want to, right? Because according to my opinion, and please hear me right, this is my opinion. According to my opinion, there is never the right time to transition. Whatever the time that you thought of transitioning will be the right time to do that now. And you can do that without changing anything external, as I keep saying as well. You can always start by looking at your mindset before even making any changes outside. So that's why I think transitioning time is now. And if you have considered all of these topics and you have thought about, I would like to try. Even if you can't guarantee yourself, it's fine. There is no problem. Before we can learn how to guarantee ourselves, we have a lot of other things to do, which I will be talking about in the webinar on how to transition successfully. But as soon as you have that desire that you want to try, you want to explore, you want to see, then absolutely come to the webinar or come to me to coaching where we can explore how we can guarantee you or how we can get you guarantee yourself even to make that transition successful, to make that transition even better than you expected, to start living that life even now if you wanted to. All of that we can do it. So it's not the problem at all. The as soon as we overcome that objection that our brain is offering of like this is not that, or the argument, as soon as we overcome that and realize that it's actually coming from fear and we don't want fear to stand in our way, and the rest, the process will start, and you will be amazed how you could actually do so much more than you thought you could be able to do, and you would be amazed how you could transition in the way that you didn't even think was possible, and you can all do all of that now. So, my dears, that's why this is all what I have for you today. I really, really encourage you to think about all of these questions, have your own answers for them. And if you can't answer them, or if you have difficulty or being stuck or feeling like you're not getting anywhere, let me know. I will be happy to coach you on this. Until then, I wish you an amazing Friday and see you next week.